God love dreamingpeach.com.
Morning, and I had a few things to add to these thoughts. Justin Baldoni's team responded. Let me turn on my lights. So it's he said, she said at the moment, although like I said last night, Justin's co-star, well, not co-star, co-podcaster, Plank, what was her name? Liz Plank. So it says, Justin Baldoni's Man Enough co-host Liz Plank quits. She's distancing herself from her podcast co-host Justin Baldoni following the allegations that he's faced from Blake Lively. And that's very unfortunate, and that doesn't bode well for him. Does it mean that she knows something more? Does it mean that she's just, ditching him in his time of need? I don't know. I find it sad. I'm going to look over there to read on my computer. Justin Baldoni's lawyer slams Blake Lively's smear campaign claims. Brian Friedman reportedly denied Justin Baldoni's team implemented a campaign to harm It Ends With Us co-star Blake Lively's reputation and criticized her for publishing private correspondence. Quote, Tag PR operated as any other crisis management firm would when hired by a client experiencing threats by two extremely powerful people with unlimited resources. Ryan Reynolds has an estimated worth of $350 million, according to Celebrity Net Worth. Blake Lively is worth an estimated net worth of around $30 million. Let's see, it says their house is $7.5 million. In the movie It Ends With Us, Blake Lively earned the most amount of any of the actors, earning around $3 million. And Justin Baldoni as Ryle Kincaid made about $320,000. Brian Sklenler as Atlas Corrigan, $300,000, and then the other people, Jenny Slate, $250,000, Hashim Mingha, $110,000, $80,000 for Amy Morton, Isabella Ferrer, $85,000, Alex N something, $60,000. So she got $3 million. So $320,000 is just about 10% of $3 million. So she made 90% more salary than him. Jennifer Abel gives her side to those bombshell internal messages and maintains Lively's, quote, incredibly difficult team were the real aggressors. Let's see what she said. Quote, what the cherry-picked messages don't include, although not shockingly, as it doesn't fit the narrative, is that there was no smear implemented, Abel wrote. No negative press was ever facilitated, no social combat plan, although we were prepared for it, as it's our job to be ready for any scenario. But we didn't have to implement anything because the internet was doing the work for us. Sure, we talked about it, contemplated if we needed certain things, flagged accounts that we needed to monitor, worked with a social team to help us stay on top of the narrative so we could act quickly if needed. And yes, we rejoiced and joked in the fact that the fans were recognizing our client's heart and work without us having to do anything but keep our heads down and focus on positive interviews for our client. Abel continued, as the texts show, we sophomorically reveled and again joked privately to each other about the internet's feedback to the woman whose team was making our lives incredibly difficult over the course of their campaign. I'm human. The long hours, months of preparation on top of my day-to-day scope. It felt good to see that although we were prepared, we didn't have to do anything over the top to protect our client. She then explained what she meant by claiming Lively's team was making their lives incredibly difficult. Quote, I was notified at the start of the marketing campaign that the opposing team had been planting horrible stories about my client as a fail-safe if my client did not comply with the demands set forth for the campaign, which is why we brought on a crisis team, as it's not something that I do. My sole job was to put together interviews, screening opportunities, and speaking opportunities for my client in support of the film, a standard scope of work. I did my job. Now, what kind of woman would work against another woman who was a victim of all the things being claimed? Thanks for asking. After reviewing the evidence, facts, hard proof that countered every single thing that was being claimed and demanded at the start of production, I made a choice to stand by my client of almost 5 years who had dedicated his life to the equal treatment of others, especially women, who had no incidents of negative treatment of others, and who had a wonderful community and team at Wayfarer who all held the same moral fortitude and lived their life accordingly. As representatives, we all have to make a choice. So I did that to the best of my ability and felt good about our efforts. Also on Monday, attorney Brian Friedman, who reps Baldoni, along with Abel and Nathan, started to go on the attack. Quote, TAG PR operated as any other crisis management firm would when hired by a client experiencing threats by two extremely powerful people with unlimited resources. The standard scenario planning TAG PR drafted proved unnecessary as audiences found Lively's own actions, interviews, and marketing during the promotional tour distasteful and responded organically to what the media themselves picked up on. It's ironic that the New York Times, through their effort to uncover an insidious PR effort, played directly into the hands of Lively's own dubious PR tactics by publishing leaked personal text exchanges that lack critical context, the very same tactics she's accusing the firm of implementing. Abel notes that they were not subpoenaed and said, as far as how these messages became public, I had recently left my previous firm, Jones Work, which I was still with during this campaign, with a team who all participated in the campaign and a boss who oversaw and who had access to my work emails and work phone, so you can deduce from that what you will. Friedman said Jones Works was the PR company contractually responsible to promote and protect Wayfarer and Justin. Our investigation has determined that on August 21st, Jones Work utilized a lawyer and security guard to take possession of Wayfarer's confidential information through confiscation of Jen Abel's phone. We are continuing to investigate the use of that confidential information, but demands are being made to Stephanie Jones and Leslie Sloan, and once we obtain the evidence, anyone actively involved in possible connection with this abhorrent conduct will be sued into oblivion. Abel also said in her post, quote, I never thought the day would come when I needed to defend myself with my own peers, but this certainly has been an interesting and devastating, quite frankly, couple of days. Friedman previously released a lengthy statement denying the claims in the filing. Quote, it is shameful that Miss Lively and her representatives would make such serious and categorically false accusations against Mr. Baldoni. Wayfarer Studios and its representatives as yet another desperate attempt to fix her negative reputation, which was garnered from her own remarks during the campaign and actions during the campaign for the film. Interviews and press activities were observed publicly in real time, unedited, which allowed the internet to... Interviews and press activities that were observed publicly in real time and unedited, which allowed for the internet to generate their own views and opinions. These claims are completely false, outrageous, and intentionally salacious, with an intent to publicly hurt and rehash a narrative in the media. So, yeah, obviously both sides are going to defend their positions, and let's see. Allegedly compiled by Tag PR, Nathan's agency, the document prepares, quote, several potential scenarios. So I just think that it's, people jump to, he's guilty immediately. Oh, she said he did it, he must have done it. And similarly to Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, people believed people believed Amber Heard for 6 years. People believed that Johnny Depp was a horrific monster, and the exact opposite was true. So if Justin is guilty of these things, then he'll pay. But if he's not guilty of these things, he's already paying. And that's the thing that's so egregious to me, is that she made allegations and now he's already suffering. Like, there's no such thing as innocent until proven guilty. There's no such thing as you have a fair chance to put your side out and then we'll determine. No, he's already losing money. He's already losing potential jobs. He's already losing relationships. And, again, I'd like to think that the people who've worked with him would support him if it was true. But just because somebody quit doesn't automatically mean that he's guilty of the things, Similarly with Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp was dropped by Disney from Pirates of the Caribbean. He lost millions of dollars and jobs and reputation. And in the end, it was all lies. But to this day, some people still think that Johnny did something terrible when he didn't. Except, the terrible thing he did was falling in love with a terrible, evil person who used and abused him and then smear campaigned him and tried to destroy him. Like, she literally tried to destroy him. And I don't know if that's what's happening now. I don't know if Justin is really the person that he's made himself seem to be all these years, or if Blake Lively is really the person that she's made herself to seem all these years. If he's really who he's made himself seem to be, and she's really who she made herself seem to be, then he's innocent and she's a terrible person. And if by some bizarre twist of fate that he's exactly the opposite of who he's spent the last decade building himself up to be, and she's actually the exact opposite of who she spent the last decades building up herself to be, she's not a mean girl, bitch, shallow person who promotes the enslavement of people as a cool aesthetic and is completely tone deaf and got married at a former slave plantation and promotes everything about that's just vile. And instead of promoting help for women who've been SA'd, she's promoting her product, and she's downplaying the seriousness of it, and she's literally insulting DV victims in interviews. So if in this world we're meant to believe that actually these two people who have long-standing reputations and personalities that they have revealed to the world in more than a decade are in fact the exact opposite, the switch, we'll find out. and I'll be flabbergasted, and I'll accept the reality of that. But goddamn, the way it appears to me, ain't that. Ain't that. Time will tell. Hopefully, the truth will be revealed, whatever it is.